Sometimes life can get really hard. It can feel harder than it has to be, not because it's unpredictable, not because it doesn't have a lot of rules, or even if it has, nobody tells us about those rules in advance, but because we tend to take decisions not from a place of conscious thinking, but from a place of conditioned thinking. So you might think you are taking that decision, but in reality, that decision has been already planted in your brain subconsciously by your peers, your parents, promotional messaging, or even your past experiences, some of which could actually be traumatic. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 ways you can make your life easier by moving from conditioned thinking to conscious thinking. If you want to be in on this ride, do subscribe to this channel. My name is Rai. I'm a former media presenter and director. And on this channel, I break down all those things that help us curate our own personal brand. And evaluating the way we make our decisions could be a huge breakthrough in that. So let's talk about the most common ways our life tends to get harder. It is the way we take our decisions in our career, in our professional life. Most of us tend to go for the job instead of waiting for the job to come to us. What do I mean by that now? What I mean is that we tend to get the degrees that will give us a certain job instead of actually thinking what job can come to us because of the personality we have, because of the temperament we have, because of who we actually are. Think of a receptionist, a very pretty lady, sitting in a completely air-controlled office, very comfortable chair. All she has to do is speak in a sweet voice and repeat some messages. Same thing every day, easy peasy, very relaxed life. And what might feel like absolute bliss from outside could be hell for this girl because she is actually an extremely outgoing person. She loves to meet new people every day. She loves to make new friends every day. She loves exploring things, places. She loves to make plans, do things. But all she has to do all day is sit in one place. And the opposite is also true. A person who's shy, introverted, doesn't want to say a lot of words, doesn't want to go up and talk to people, if that guy is given a sales job, it is going to be a nightmare for that person. And if these 2 people could switch jobs, their lives would become instantly easier. So next time you think about a job, think from your personality and not from the paperwork. Another pretty universal way in which we make our lives harder is because we think that once we hit our 20s and 30s or even 40s, we don't have to grow up anymore. Growing up is over as soon as we become an adult, which is absolutely not true. Yes, our IQ might just stabilize, but our EQ continues to grow. It has to grow. This is why a lot of relationships don't work out. It is why a lot of children feel a lot of neglect from their parents. It's because we as adults think that growing up is over. But in reality, every decade has its own growing up to do. When you start dating, you have a certain amount of growing up to do. When you marry, there is another level of growing up to do. When you become a parent, there is more growing up to do. And when your parents become aged, there's one whole new level of growing up to do all over again. Now, the good news is it's not a hard thing to do, but you have to actually be conscious about it. That's all you need, really. And it applies to everything. The way you used to diet in your 20s will not be the same way you diet in your 40s. The way you exercised in your 20s won't be the same way you exercise in your 40s. In fact, these days, I exercise to slow jazz and love songs. Who would have thought? But that's what works for me with my bad knees. Growing up applies to everything in the way we do makeup. Once those wrinkles come on, the makeup game changes. Same with our dresses. Once your body shape changes, you cannot dress the same way. At least it's not going to look the same on you. So simply by being conscious that we have another level of learning, another level of growing up to do with every passing decade can make our lives much more easier and relaxed. Famous Bollywood actor Shah Rukh Khan, when he was asked why doesn't he go to Hollywood to do big budget Hollywood films, he said, "Why should I? I'm comfortable here." But on the other hand, Priyanka Chopra, when asked the same question, said, "Well, I don't carry the baggage of my past achievements into a new place. I'm open to showing my reels. I'm open to auditioning for everything. And that's why I am ready to grow and try new things and go new places." So people can have different perspective about what growth looks like. Another way our lives become a little harder than they have to be is because we try to dream way too early. Even as a child, we are constantly asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And if you think about it, that's a question that never adds up. 99% of the times they don't work out, and it ends up making us think like we have failed when in reality that was never meant to be in the first place. In one interview, I was asked where I saw myself 5 years from now. And I said that is impossible to answer. How do I know what is going to be around me 5 years from now? This organization you are interviewing me from, that did not exist 5 years ago. And 5 years from the time that I answered this question, did you know what happened? Internet broke into the scene and completely changed the game forever. So you never know what you're actually dreaming for. There is a very famous line in this epic Mahabharata where a sage predicts that a king will die in the hands of a child. He says the person who's going to kill you is actually growing up in a village, in a remote village far away from you, and is still a child. In a similar way, the job that is going to be yours is still growing up. That job has not been created yet. So very often we feel like a failure, not because we failed at the interviews we gave, but because of those interviews we never actually gave, which were meant for us. So try to find out what is meant for you. Try to move from conditioned thinking to a more conscious thinking. And I bet your life is going to get way more easy, way less harder than it has to be. My name is Rai, and I will see you in the next video. But I hope you subscribe to this channel, you like this video, and maybe leave a comment.